Hey, this is Brandon Crawford from the San Francisco Giants, and you're listening to Torture Cast.
You're listening to a podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants.
Let's go, Giants!
With hosts Willie Dills, Chad King, Ben Lee, and Eric Nathanson. Dedicated to the greatest team in Major League Baseball, the San Francisco Giants. This is Torture Cast.
Standing on time, not gonna stop. We came to play, ain't slowing down. Falling on, we're here to stay, and we're stomping on whatever's in our way. I'm feeling like a Giant tonight.
It's Monday, September 26, 2016, and this is episode 112 of the TortureCast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. I'm your host, Chad, and joining me tonight, as always, is one Eric Nathanson. Eric, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. It's supposedly fall, so I will see 60 degrees soon, maybe in a month. So I'm starting to do good. The insanity heat from the summer, has worn me down, and so have the Giants.
Yeah, we always have our Indian summer this time of year, and of course, right on cue, right after fall starts, we hit 102 today. So
Wow.
And now there's a major fire burning about 10 miles away from our house. We're not in danger or anything, but it's just one of those things. This is the time of year. I mean, 2 weeks ago it was like 75 and comfy, and now we have our last little fits of summer trying to wane its way out before
Wow,
the
that's
fall
crazy.
takes complete hold and envelops us with the golden leaves of autumn. But what's trying to envelop the Giants right now is the offseason, and the Giants are trying their darndest to have that happen because they have not been performing well lately. But, they're I would say, quote, lucky in the sense that the other two teams are also not performing very well. But on our last podcast, which was exactly 2 weeks ago tonight, we thought they were turning a corner. They had been playing better ball the last week. We thought maybe this is it. Maybe this is going to be the final push, and maybe they could catch the Dodgers. Because at that time, it was still possible. They still had 6 games left against L.A. They were 4 or 5 back at the time. So we thought we had that pie-in-the-sky dream. We said they can do this. If not, maybe they can lock up the wild card and not even have any drama or torture. But that's not how our boys do it, Eric.
No.
They just don't do it that way. I mean, that's the whole reason we're called the Torture Cast, okay?
Yeah, we're going to have to
they
change it to
come-
the collapse cast soon enough if they end up out.
Oh, isn't that crazy, though? I mean, the Giants have won 3 World Series in that 5-year span, and if you include the wild card game against Pittsburgh, they are 10-0 in playoff series. And that's just crazy. And, of course, you have the storied comebacks against St. Louis and Cincinnati in 2012, being down to their last game 6 times in that postseason. You have the Game 7 against Kansas City. You have the comeback against Kansas City at home. I mean, there's just so many amazing memories and how this team pushes themselves and their fans to the brink of an aneurysm and yet rewards you in the end. And I think that's what makes it that much sweeter when you look behind, when you kind of do the Monday morning quarterback. You're like, that was a hell of a way to win it. That was a really cool way to win it. But when you're going through it, it is not fun, I'm telling you. I mean, it's not fun. It's exciting, but it's not fun until they win. I'm just telling you right now.
It would be crazy if this was another year where they do like 2 years ago. There's this unbelievable collapse, and they catch fire all of a sudden again. Like, it'd be kind of amazing. We thought that they had a chance to just float above water, and then the bullpen started all of a sudden deciding they didn't want to close games out anymore. And it wasn't just Casilla; it was everybody. They blew
everybody.
Yeah, what was it? 3 ninth-inning leads over the last 2 weeks, and they were like all in a stretch of 5 or 6 days.
Yeah, so we thought they were turning it around, and I just went back and looked at the schedule, and since we did our last podcast, including that night where they were losing and they eventually lost 4-0, they've gone 5-9 in those 14 games. And like you just mentioned, they blew 3, not just 3 saves, they blew 3 games in which they had the lead going into the 9th inning. Okay? That's hard to do in a 2-week span. In fact, the Dodgers, you know how many times they've done it the entire year?
Oh, no.
3 times.
Oh, man.
So the Giants blew 3 ninth-inning leads in less than 2 weeks, and that's the same amount of those blown games that the Dodgers have had the entire year. And that just kind of explains it right there. In fact, the Giants now lead the majors with 9 such games. 9 times. Oh my God, that's Ferris Bueller, isn't it? 9 times. They have blown, not just blown this, this isn't blowing the save. This is losing eventually, even right away or in extra innings. 9 losses in games in which they led going into the 9th. Now, I don't know what the average is, but it's going to be down in the 3, 4, 5 range. So you immediately could add 4 or 5 wins to the Giants' total if they were just average, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You could if they just close out the 3-run game against San Diego.
Another
even if
3-run game against Baltimore in which they actually led by 6. Remember that one?
You have the Dodgers game that doesn't get closed out, and the St. Louis game, another one. But I don't know. I keep going back to the Padres game because it was finally a time where somebody other than Casilla collapsed, and it was like the first time it was somebody other than Casilla. It was a combination, I think, of Will Smith and then Hunter Strickland and Steve Okert gave up the bomb.
Yeah,
because it went from 4-1 game to a 6-4 final.
6-4 final, exactly. They scored 5 runs in the 9th inning, and it's painful. In fact, Hunter Strickland was photographed running the stairs of Petco Park after that game. The park was completely empty, and he was just running. So he was clearly burning off some of his stress and anxiety about it. And that's one of his knocks, is that he does wear his emotions on his sleeve, which we've seen in the postseason. So he was certainly upset about that game. He's taking it hard because it was kind of him and Law that were sort of anointed as the new semi-closers, the 2-headed monster, and it just didn't work out. In fact, Law got hit. He's gotten hit a couple times. Strickland, of course, got hit.
Yeah.
I mean, whoever Bochy puts out there, I'm telling you right now, the Giants have some sort of 9th inning illness, and what I think it stems to is that it's a snowball effect, right? You're going to have a few blown saves throughout the year, of course. You're going to have a few blown 9th inning games. That's going to happen. But I think because it happened more and more and more often, and it just went under the microscope of the media and themselves. I mean, they know what's going on. These guys aren't stupid. I think it got to the point where, including Casilla, who can get a little bit of a worm in his brain, they're fine. I shouldn't say fine. They're mostly fine. They're above average through the after the starters go out for those middle innings. When it gets to that 9th inning, I swear to God, most of those guys are going out with a little Jiminy Cricket on their shoulder going, don't blow this, don't blow this, don't blow this, don't blow this. I really do. I think it's completely psychological. If it's the 8th inning, no problem, because they're not going to be the GOAT, right? Even if they give up a lead, it's not the same as a 9th inning blown, game.
Well, I don't know. I have a hard time just thinking that mentally one of them, Strickland, Law, Casilla, any of them, I don't know if it's so much the kind of domino for me. I think it's as weird as it sounds. I just think it's Murphy's Law, and whatever the hell can go wrong does. Like, there doesn't seem to be a move Bochy can make this year that we're all like, oh, great, what a good idea. Every pitching move he makes, it's not even if we say,
Nathan.
oh, good,
oh, great.
right? Yeah, exactly. He brings somebody in, and generally we're not like too enthusiastic about it. We've been scratching our heads at the bullpen moves he's been making, I believe, all season long, but more so the last couple of months while they've been on this slide. And it's like they can't find something. You're right. In that respect, you're right. None of them, that might be it. None of them can find that instinct for that 9th inning. And it's funny because it's bred in pitchers that the 9th inning guy is the closer. He feels a certain way, and it's strange that none of them would step up and do it. I wondered about Matt Cain, somebody like that doing it. It'd be a possibility, or maybe not. If that's a playoff
roster. He was floated out there by the media, and I was like, why not? I mean, at this point, why not?
I mean, who do you trust in the 9th inning right now? Seriously, who do you trust with a 1-run lead?
I honestly don't trust anyone. There's no such thing as trust. What I would say is, where would I put my highest percentage on? Right? There's a difference.
Yeah, fair.
It's like you hand the ball to Mariano Rivera, you trust him, right? You don't hand the ball to Sergio Romo at this point and say, I trust you're going to get this. But looking at everybody else, I think you got our best shot. I mean, honestly, it's sad. It's sad. It's kind of like close the eyes, hand him the ball, and just go gulp. Let's hope this works.
Well,
He's
you know
done
who
it
else?
before. He has like 89 career saves. We've seen him do it, in the 2012 playoffs. So at least he has the experience. But right now, Casillas' complete meltdown.
Oh, yeah, he's done.
Strickland just can't handle it. I'm sorry. He's got great stuff, but his fastball is straight as an arrow.
Yes.
And he refuses to use other pitches that he has most of the time. And I don't know if he's still hanging on to this mono, I'll blow the doors off of you. Because that's not going to work in the majors. It's just not, unless you have movement on it, which he doesn't. So it's frustrating. But
The one guy I like that I think has looked decent lately is Corey Guerin. Since he's come back, he's got that like frisbee like slider like Sergio.
Yeah, he's
Sergio,
like
I
Sergio
think,
there, yeah.
because of the experience, he does have the lockdown on the chance to do it right now, and he is the highest percentage as well. But somebody like Guerin, I would trust right now. Trust is subjective,
right,
and
'cause he's
Derek
blown a
Law
few
still.
games.
Right.
No, and Derek
But-
Law still has a spark there. He has something there, but like the game, I think it was against LA, he started to close it. He gives up a leadoff hit. Bochy had zero tolerance, pulled him right out for the lefty,
Yeah,
right? Because it was
surprised.
it was Seager coming up next. So he put in Lopez.
Yeah.
Lopez gets a ball that if it was hit just 2 inches, 3 inches to the left is a double play ball, or close to it. You're right. They've been bit by the Murphy's Law bug. It wasn't like every hit was a screaming liner off the wall. A lot of remember Chicago, the Cubs series? My God, 2 of the Cubs wins were
Addison
off of bloopers.
Russell
Yeah.
had a
And Jason
jeez.
Hayward, right? This is the way
yes,
the Giants,
that Sunday game. Yep.
the Giants season has gone. Anything that can go wrong is going wrong, yet they're buoyed, their cushion is from, I'd say, an overachieving first half, right? So they're having the correction to that first half. That's what they're having right now. And I think unfortunately, this is the team that they are right now. I still do think they're better than an 88 win team or 87 win team or 86, whatever they end up with. We can go back, but I remember my original projection was 93 wins. And what was funny is that at the All-Star break, when they had the best record in all of baseball, I looked it up, and if they just went 500 in the second half, they would have ended up with 93 wins. So I was thinking, my guess is
It
actually
wasn't hard.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, they're going to, 93, shit. Why not 98, at this point? And they're, obviously they can't get to 93, but like you said, the one against St. Louis really, really hurt. That's a 2-game swing in the standings. And I'll jump ahead a little bit, but tonight,
Yeah,
New York,
and the thing about
go ahead.
the St. Louis one. Well, I was going to say the thing about the St. Louis one is it came off of them winning the first 2 games of the series.
Absolutely.
So it looked like they were poised to win 3, take the season series over the Cardinals. So they knew they'd have that locked up in any tie-breaking scenario. And it looked like they could take command of things again. And once again, as the term we've used plenty, they shit the bed when they had the chance to, step on the gas. And then the day after, that Sunday game, the one that you went to, that totally explains how they, ended up how they did.
Well, and there's very little doubt in my mind because they had the hangover of that walk-off loss or that 9th inning blown save on Saturday. If they won that game, it changes the complexion for Sunday, and who knows what happens. We don't know. But I will tell you this. Sunday was dead. Dead. The players were dead. The park was dead. Everyone was just dead. It was like someone had died. And they just did not play with any passion, and they were just shut down 3-0. Went into the clubhouse afterwards, and the players were they weren't being a-holes to the media. They were totally accommodating, but there was just zero energy. No, hey, it's all good. We'll come back. It's just, it's just a minor flesh wound. We're good. I did talk to Matt Cain. I don't know if you heard that short interview I did have with him. He was over in the corner, and I just figured, I had to go and talk to him a little bit. I hadn't talked to him in a while. And, he said a lot of the same standard things that, the reason I wanted to talk to him is because he's the veteran on this team. He's the most tenured person on this team. He's been through all 3 World Series. He's been through all this adversity. I figured his perspective is probably the most comprehensive of any of them on the team. And, he kind of said the old company line is that, hey, 1 game at a time. yeah, this stinks, but we just got to put it behind us and you just got to keep winning. And I do understand that tactically. You can't mope about yesterday's loss or today's loss. But I think it showed Sunday. So even though the players don't say that happens, we're all human. They're human. It's going to affect you on some level, And it just stunk because here, St. Louis lost tonight. Great. New York lost tonight. Great. So now they're a half game back in New York, and they're a full game up on St. Louis. However, if they did not blow that save against St. Louis, they would be 3 games up on St. Louis with 6 to play. And the other 2 blown saves, let's just say they still blow one of them. So you add another game on. They would have a 4-game lead on St. Louis with 6 to play. I mean, it's rough. It's really,
we'd
really
be
rough.
We'd be talking about how they're going to line up the rotation for the wild card game, when to pitch
Mets.
bum this week and things like that. Yeah, that's what we'd be talking about. Instead, we're still worried that there's this 3-team. We've never seen a horse race like this. The Giants haven't been in this. They had the Padres pennant race in 2010, but that was pretty much just the 2 of them doing it that year. Back in '93. Right, 93 was the same thing. It was do or die. Now you got these, 3 teams for 2 spots. So it's like playing a shuffling game. But the bottom line is, if they don't win games, they won't have any issues. They'll just be watching the Mets and the Cardinals play.
Yeah, and
I
I think the other thing that exacerbates the 9 blown games or 9 losses entering the 9th inning with a lead, the Giants have had exactly 0 wins entering the 9th trailing. I mean, that's almost incomprehensible. So if you look
how ridiculous is that?
Exactly.
There's not one time that they strung together, 2 hits just to squeeze a tying run in when they were down by 1 run, like with guys like Buster Posey, Hunter Pence.
Officially, they have not won a game, being it in the 9th or extras, in which they trailed entering the 9th. Not one. And so if you do the ledger of the account, the accountant is sitting there going, okay, well, let's see how many deposits and withdrawals you have. Oh, God, oof, bad month, huh? Oh, and 9 blown games in the 9th inning. Well, okay, let's see how your offense is doing and your comeback moxie. Let's see. 0. You guys have 0. You're not depositing anything in the bank right now. So they're basically like -9 in that situation, right? The Dodgers, like the aforementioned Dodgers, I said had blown 3 games in which they led going into the 9th. They've won 6 in which they trailed going into the 9th. So think about that.
They have an offense. That's the hidden.
Of course.
That's the hidden secret in all this right now.
Absolutely.
And all this, the bullpen sucks and yada yada yada. The pitchers are horrible. This guy blows. The hidden secret in all this is the offense blows.
Yeah.
They haven't done shit for 2.5, 3 months. They haven't done a thing since the All-Star break, and that's why they can't come back and win those games, because you can't win and knock runs in when nobody's getting on base.
No, I totally agree with you. But think about those numbers. The Giants are basically in a -9 situation. If you look at a ledger in that way. The Dodgers are a +6.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, +3, I should say.
+3.
+3. So that is a 12-game difference.
Yeah.
12 games. And they're down by 8 right now. I mean, the Dodgers clinched the West, which everybody, blah, blah, whatever, cry.
Well, it was kind of cool. I mean, come on.
No, it was cool.
Vince Scully.
Oh, no. I have a buddy that
best,
I do CrossFit with, and he's a major Dodgers fan, and we just talk crap each other, but in a very fun way. Every time we see each other about 3 or 4 times a week at morning CrossFit. And so this morning I went right up to him and I said, all right, I got to officially congratulate you, man. And he was wearing his Dodger hat, his Dodger shirt. I mean, he works out in Dodger gear. And he was like, hey, man, thanks. I appreciate that. He's like, the Giants can still do it. And I was like, hey, no, they can. 2014, we all know this. And, of course, if they don't, then the Dodgers will just lose to the Cardinals in the NLCS. That's going to happen. But no, it was a really cool way, if you're a Dodger fan and just a baseball fan, to see how they won it with the walk-off with the young kid. And then that's Vin Scully's last home game that he broadcasts. I mean, that's a pretty cool way to end his home career there. He has 3 more games at AT&T, but that's pretty amazing. So, I mean, good for him.
I read a good little nugget that part of what made Vin good is he let moments breathe. And when Seager tied the game in the bottom of the ninth, Vin shut up for 38 seconds and just kind of let the crowd noise overtake everybody on the radio and on the television and stuff like that. So even knowing he was running out of time, he still kept his mouth shut and didn't want to insert himself in the middle of it. And I thought that was cool. And then of all people, Charlie Culberson is the guy to do it for the Dodgers. You know, the guy we traded for Scutero.
Yeah, for Scutero. I mean, that all worked out. Believe us, we all know.
Yeah,
this.
oh yeah, totally. Yeah. There's no regret here. It's just kind of crazy that it's Charlie Culberson who happened to be the one to do it in the 10th inning. You know, that was cool for them. Good for them. You know, sure, whatever.
Sure, whatever. Yeah.
Well,
Once the Giants, lost four out of the last six of those six aforementioned games, we knew it was over. I mean, they had to win 5 of 6 to even have a shot, and that just didn't happen. So. Nope. Not to mention going 5-9 in those 2 weeks. I mean, that just was the nail in the coffin for the NL West. But at least, 6 games to go. So let's talk about this. 6 games to go. I believe the Mets only have 5. In fact, here we go. So the Giants have 3 against Colorado at home and then 3 versus LA. The Mets have 2 more at Miami and then 3 at Philly. St. Louis is at home against Cincinnati for another 3. And then against Pittsburgh at home for another 3. So, Cincinnati is a fairly weak team, but they destroyed the Cardinals tonight. The Marlins
15 runs.
the Marlins are feisty. They're playing with a lot of emotion right now. We'll talk about that later. They're technically still alive in the wild card hunt, and they still have 2 more games. Phillies, whatever. It's like, do you see that comeback with the Mets had against the Phillies?
Yeah. This was the night
twice.
after their comeback. Their comeback got busted up the night before. Cespedes thought he hit one over the wall to end the game, and he got robbed by Inciarte.
Yeah.
And then the next night they make the crazy comeback.
Twice. Yeah, make 2 comebacks. I mean, just insane. So the Mets are playing with a lot of passion right now. So here's what I'm concerned about. It's the rotation. I'm never going to say I'm concerned about Bum. Lately, I have been concerned about him. He was given a 6-0 lead against San Diego, man. 6-0 with your ace. You're like, this is a 99% lock. His arm has to fall off, or he has to start pitching underhand. And suddenly it was a home run. It was a 2-run home run. It was a 2-run home run. It was 6-5. And you're just like, what's going on? What is going on here? And of course they tie it. They go to extras, and the Giants mercifully, won that game. But Matt Moore, he's just all or nothing. That he is the most inconsistent pitcher since they got him. And I didn't follow him in Tampa Bay, so I don't know what his streakiness was like. But you don't know what you're going to get out of this guy. He could throw a one-hitter like he did in Dodger Stadium, and then he came back to Dodger Stadium and gave up 5 runs in the first. You're just like, what the hell? Like,
That was so weird.
You don't know what you're going to get with this guy because he's wild, and I think that's the problem. He's always been known to have a high walk rate, right? He has like 4 or 5 walks per 9, which is insane. I mean, that's just way too much. And I think when someone is that inconsistent with their walks, of course they're going to be inconsistent in the strike zone overall, and just bad things can happen on streaks, right? Just like good things could happen on streaks. But this is what I line up the rotation coming up the next 6 games. Tomorrow we got Matt Moore. Now we got Smarja. And then the third game, Cueto could pitch. He's going to throw tomorrow, and they're going to make a decision tomorrow. If he does pitch, that's his last start of the season. If he doesn't pitch, it's going to be Suarez. Then we're heading into L.A., or L.A.'s coming in. Then you're going to have Bum for his final start, and most likely it's going to be against Kershaw. Because they have enough off days, of course, before the start of the playoffs. And look, the Giants cannot be eliminated from the wild card race before LA comes into town. It's mathematically impossible, right?
Oh, good point.
Yeah, because they're 1 game ahead of the Cardinals.
Right.
They cannot be eliminated before they face the Dodgers. The Dodgers will want nothing more to put the cherry on top of their season than to eliminate the Giants. And how many times in Dodger-Giants history has this happened on both sides? Talking about Joe Morgan, Steve Finley, those moments, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just really worried, man. I'm just really worried that if this is the year that even year magic dies, it's going to die a brutal death in the most painful way. To go from best record to worst record, to lose the NL West, and then to have your playoff hopes crushed by your arch rivals in your park in the final weekend of the season. I'm serious. It's set up to be a heartbreaking weekend. And the Giants' string of playoff success would say otherwise. But if it were to end, it may end in horrific, painful fashion.
I'm prepared for that in a way. I really am. I'm not even kidding you. I kind of made my peace with everything a couple weeks ago and threw up my hands, and I'm done with the expectations. So
no,
if they,
I will totally concede that point, and this is the reason why. As a baseball fan, I want quality teams in the playoffs. The Giants are not a quality team right now.
No, they're going to get killed. Like half our guys are injured. Nunez is getting an MRI. I don't even know if there's results. Cueto, we don't know if he's going to be able to bounce back from his injury. It's like it's kind of like they're not a full strength good ball club right now. Who the hell are they going to beat in the playoffs? The Cubs? No.
That's if they get into the wild card game and they happen to beat the Mets or the Cardinals or whoever. They get the thankless job of facing the Cubs. Okay, good luck. Thank you.
I mean, right. I don't want to be doom and gloom, but like if it ends, like if we end up with the hugest, good words. If we end up with the biggest collapse ever, of having the best record at the All-Star break and not making the playoffs, I'm okay with that. It's better than seeing them go in and just get absolutely embarrassed. Well, and if they go in and suddenly win the World Series, I will gladly eat my words.
Yeah, I'm a little bit with you there. I'm with you in the sense of that the Giants are not a playoff team right now. They're just not. They're not a playoff team. But
they average 2.5 wins a week.
Yeah, but they had such a great first half. That's the only reason they're still in it right now. If they were to win the wild card game, I mean, at this point, look, I honestly don't want them to have the biggest collapse in MLB history in terms of having the best record and then not making the freaking playoffs, right? The A's almost did that, but they made the wild card game. And, of course, they infamously had 2 leads against Kansas City. Kansas City ended up pulling it out in the, 13th inning after tying it in the 9th and the 10th and then scoring 3 runs in the 13th to beat Oakland, which to this day we actually have to thank the baseball gods that happened, right? Because we don't know who the Giants would have faced in the World Series, assuming they would have advanced. And
yeah, that's the truth.
They would have won it all. So thank you, Billy Bean, ? Right? Just saying.
Yeah, right.
That's considered one of the biggest collapses, but they still made the playoffs technically. I don't want the Giants to not make the playoffs to have that label. I really don't. So even if they make it and they lose to New York or St. Louis, it's like, well, they had a bad collapse, but they at least had a shot, right? If they win the wild card and they get destroyed by the Cubs, granted, I don't want them to be embarrassed. I'm with you there, but at the same time, it would still be better than not making the playoffs. Just the label, you know what I mean? The whole label of like biggest choke job in the second half. Yeah,
but like the only way I'm going to feel positive about the Giants in the playoffs, if they make it, is if they win 5 out of 6 games this week. They have 6 games. And if they win 5 out of 6, that shows me that they're starting to click again, because that's the only way they're going to win 5 out of 6 is if the middle of the offense does some things and they string together some hits and they score some runs and win some games. And we look ahead at the 6 games or 5 games for the Mets who lost tonight, and you got to figure both of them are going to win 3 games. So the Giants have to go at least 500 against Colorado and LA here. So we got to hope for a
minimum.
Oh, yeah.
That's a great question. I was going to write that down, and I forgot. Marty Lurie was talking about it over the weekend when they still had 7 or 8 games left. But he was asking everyone, how many wins do you think it's going to take to just get in the wild card game? Like, no playoffs, no like 1-game playoffs or whatever. Just what is it going to take to get in? And I think with 7 games remaining, he said it's going to take minimum 4. So that's right on what you're saying right now. With 6 games, minimum of 3. Minimum, because you have a 1-game lead on St. Louis, right? So even if St. Louis went in and won 4 of their 6, you're tied with the Giants, right? And then they got to have a 1-game playoff to see who gets to face the Mets, assuming they're still ahead. The good thing is that it's not the best of 3. It's the whoever has the worst record, basically. I mean, I know St. Louis is a game back, but essentially whoever has the worst last 6 games. That's who's going to be out. And so you're right. If the Giants win 2 of their last 6 games after going 5-9 in those 2 weeks, after having the worst second half in Major League history, after having the best record, well, they didn't deserve to make the playoffs. Ever.
It's funny. I did the math.
They just didn't.
Yeah, I did the math 2 weeks ago before our last show, and the Giants were averaging 2.6 victories per week.
Oof.
And here we are 2 weeks later, and they won 5 games.
Which is 2.5, yeah.
Right. So, I mean, if they're going to stick with that, that means they're going to probably go 2-4 this week, and they're going to miss out. But if they go at minimum 3, I think 3 with 6 games left, I think 3 is the number. 3, get to a wild card spot, regardless if you have to play a play-in game to play the wild card. I think 3 gets you a spot right now.
Wouldn't
I
it be
think
awesome?
4 or 5 secures being in the wild card.
5. Well, 5 is a guarantee. 5 is a guarantee. That's both teams are not going to go 6-0 or 5-1. I don't think. So 5-0 is basically all but a mathematical guarantee. 4 is a solid probability. Because then St. Louis would have to go 5-1, right, to tie the Giants. But 3-3, St. Louis could go 4-2 and tie them. But if St. Louis just goes 3-3, then the 3-3 for the Giants is good enough. But it all starts, man. It all starts tomorrow night with Matty Moore, and I'm scared. I'm scared with that lineup. He only has 2 career starts against Colorado, but he has 11.7 ERA. He's been torched by the Rockies in his 2 starts. So I'm scared. I'm scared. Shark has been very impressive lately, to be honest. He's been great.
Yeah, he has. You saw it the other night. He's been stepping it up. His ERA has declined each of the last 2 months.
Yeah, he's well under 4 now, which is great. He might end the season under 4, which is not what I expected after he started turning south. But so unfortunately, Cueto's injury. He said it felt like a crab pinched him in the groin, which is great. That had a lot of memes and funny, one-liners. But unfortunately, it robbed him of at least 1 start, right? He would have gone twice to end the season. He would have pitched on Sunday, and he would have pitched 1 more time. Well, he missed Sunday, and now he can only pitch 1 more time. That's it. So it robbed him of at least 1 start. And his start that Suarez took, they lost. No guarantee that Cueto would have won that game, but you just kind of go the what ifs, right? What if he didn't pull his groin? Would he have pitched? Would he have pitched well? Maybe the Giants would be 2 games up with the Cardinals right now. We don't know. We'll never know. But unfortunately, he only has 1 more start at the most if he does pitch. Bum only has 1 more start, and then we got Moore twice.
Yeah,
and that's because they have 6 games left, right?
But that also means, yes, you got the bullpen twice because Bochy has shown us in September really he's not afraid to throw a lot of pitchers out there. So I don't think he's going to be afraid to have a quick hook with any of these guys.
It comes down to that last game of the season that Moore's pitching on that Sunday against LA, and that the playoff hopes are swinging in the balance, and Moore, chokes it up in the 1st or 2nd inning. Oh yeah, he'll pull him right away. So.
I just honestly I worry about Cueto because I worry that Cueto's going to go out there, pitch to 2 batters, and be done because he's hurt and he aggravated the injury again, and then the Giants are going to lose him for any sort of playoff run. So I would really love that if Moore and Shark do something in the first 2 games, if the Giants can win these first 2 games, I would love it if the Giants threw Suarez in that 3rd game and saved Cueto's start for Saturday against the Dodgers.
And you know what? They may do that. I mean, nothing's to be determined, or nothing is set in stone right now. These are just like if things did not change, if the rotation did not change, this is what it would be. It'd be Moore, Shark, Cueto, or Suarez, then Bum, Cueto, or Suarez, whoever didn't pitch the last game, and then Moore. So that's how the season would end. But you're right. He could totally mix that up. And we don't know what's going to happen. And I think it's the fluid situation, right? It's going to depend on how they perform here. It may get to desperation mode where he's just throwing shit at the wall. He's just like, whatever, man. We just...
Aren't we there? I mean, I kind of feel like they've been there for a little bit because he's kind of thrown his hands up and been like, well, everything I do doesn't work anyway, so let's just try this.
Yeah. I don't know. He'll start Okert one game. You never know.
Right? Why not? Let's start off in situation. He'll left-right matchup through the entire game.
Oh, wouldn't that be funny? Hey, we have September call-ups. Let's do it.
We have 89 pitchers. Let's use them
Yeah.
all.
Let's put in Mark Reynolds again. What the hell was that?
Oh my
Against
God.
San Diego.
It was such a stupid position to put him in too.
I was like,
we don't need
you're
to.
I know. I was like, what? They're 3-1. What? And then Mark Reynolds. What?
We need a shutdown inning, and Reynolds comes in, and yeah, a shutdown inning is kind of a thing. Like, you don't want to let the other team just do whatever the hell they want right after that.
Oh God, that was so frustrating.
It was 3-2. They made it 3-2, and then all of a
3-2,
sudden
right.
it started giving
Yeah.
up runs.
No,
And they earned those. Like 2 walks and a double from Posey on a high pitch.
Yeah, Bochy is he's single-handedly won 3 World Series through his acumen and his
Right.
moves. I mean, there's no doubt about it. It's not like they were the big red machine, and you're Sparky Anderson just going, but I wrote the lineup. All right, you guys win. I mean, he was deft in his moves in crucial moments in all 3 of those postseason. You know, from being those 6 comeback wins in elimination games in 2012 to the 2010 season and how he managed that, to putting Lincecum in the bullpen, to leaving Zito off the roster, to 2014 having Bum pitch the last 5 innings of Game 7. I mean, you name it. He has pulled the magic strings throughout all 3 World Series runs.
King Midas.
But this year, it's just like, maybe it's just law of averages. Every string he's pulled is just you know, it's just been crap. And, you know, he has so much stock, you don't want to blame Bochy at this point. But there have been some questionable calls where you're just kind of like, I don't remember questioning Bochy this much in the past. I really don't, you know?
But you know what? We might have had better bullpens in the past, and so we didn't have to.
That's absolutely true. I mean, look, that's it. He has fewer bullets. So when you have better bullets, you have better weaponry. What are you going to do?
Yeah, I mean, we used to have everything on lockdown. We know whose role was what.
Yeah,
and
this is
and
Lopez,
now
this is Affelt, this is Romo, this is it was like that. Absolutely. And now
I
it's
think
like,
that Affelt one.
Mark Reynolds, sure. Matt Cain. How about Joe Nathan? He's like 52. Let's lose him. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So let's talk about the craziness that may envelop or develop here should all 3 teams tie for the wild card. Now, the chances of that, they list at about 5%, so they're fairly low. But if that does happen, oh boy, would that be crazy. So I'm going to go over the scenarios right now if that should happen. Now, the Cardinals and the Mets, unfortunately, both lead the Giants in their season series 4-3. Again, blown save against the Cardinals, right? Rough one. And I think they had one blown game against the Mets as well. But regardless, if they all 3 tied, because the season matchups have been determined, Monday, October 3rd, the Mets would play in St. Louis. Their winner would win the first wild card spot and host the actual NL wild card game on October 5th. So then they get the day off next, right? Now, the loser isn't done yet. No. The loser of the Mets-Cardinals game then goes to San Francisco, which is very odd. It doesn't look right on the surface, but that's because they lost the right, essentially. They go to San Francisco to play them. Now, the winner of that, of course, heads to the winner of Game 1, which is either New York or St. Louis, to play in the eventual wild card game on October 5th. And, of course, the loser is done for the season. So if that were to happen, they would have to play 3 games, and everybody would play at least 2, which is insane. You know, so like you said before our broadcast, that means the winner of the wild card has won 2 playoff games, not 1, which is pretty cool.
They have to. And it could also mean that St. Louis or the Mets would have to play 3 straight do-or-die games in possibly 3 different cities. Oh, wait. If the Cardinals lose to the Mets, then the Cardinals would fly to San Francisco from St. Louis. And then if the Cardinals beat the Giants, they would fly to New York from San Francisco. So they would play 3 elimination games in 3 different cities. No other team can do that because if the Mets win, then they'll just go home and they'll miss one, and the Giants only play 2 games. You know, but the Giants only have the opportunity to play the 2 games. They don't get the extra buffer game by virtue of what you said, not beating either team in the season series. And that's why that Saturday night game was just such a stick in the craw type game, because that was it. They were turning it all back around. And then no, they weren't.
That was it.
Sorry. Yep.
So it's going to be crazy. So I was looking
I
into
hope it
a little
doesn't
bit of
happen.
the.
Yeah.
No, I can't take it. I don't think my liver and my heart can take it. I really don't. I really don't. Either just kill them while they're down, just end the season, or just one wild card game. I can't take potentially two, right?
I don't need that. My lungs are fried, man.
I think a lot of Giants fans are fried right now. But you know what? I mean, despite everything, at least we're not the freaking, Oakland Athletics or whatever. I mean, at least the Giants are in it.
Brewers, right? Yeah.
Milwaukee Brewers. So I was looking at some sabermetrics, some of the more advanced stats in MLB on BaseballReference.com, and the Giants games are always torture, right? I mean, that's why we call this podcast that. Dwayne Kuiper coined it in 2010, and it's back in full force this year with a vengeance. Every game is torture. My key to the last 6 games is pretty simple. I basically distill it down to five easy words to remember. Score some motherfucking runs. That's it. Okay? Plain and simple. Let's just do away with this torture. Let's just score 6 or 7 runs a game.
Right.
Let's just be done with this.
When was the last time they blew somebody out and we just had a nice laugh about things?
That's the thing.
I mean,
it's
even
so
the other
rare.
night against San Diego, it's like, yeah, they're blowing them out 6-0. I said
With
it.
bum.
I said it
With
out loud,
bum.
right? I'm like, there's no way they blow this game. No chance this happens. I said it out
Magical
loud,
words.
and then bam,
Yeah.
they blow it. So even the one game that they won in San Diego, they blew a huge lead and had to eke out in extra innings. Like, when are they gonna just blow somebody out in one game so we can
And just
laugh?
hold it.
Like,
I know.
please win a game by 4 or 5 runs. Just none of this.
So because the Giants play so many one-run games, and I don't have the stats up right now, but I know at one point they were 4-13 in one-run games in the second half. I know it's gotten worse since then. It's been horrific. They were above 500 in one-run games in the first half, of course. But it just seems like pitchers are always coming in high-leverage situations, right? Runners on base, tight game, that kind of thing. They do have a stat, here, that takes care of that kind of situation. It's called average leverage index, and it basically is the number of high-pressure situations that relievers enter. Not to anyone's surprise, the Giants lead all of Major League Baseball in that number. I mean, out of all 30 teams, their relievers come in, on average, in higher pressure situations than any other team in Major League Baseball. So our eyes are seeing this accurately. The Giants play tight games. They play close games. They are full of torture, and the numbers show it. And it's really, really rough. They're also third to last in the National League in save percentage, and actually fourth to last in the major leagues at a 57%, with 32 blown saves. 9 of those, of course, being those games they've blown in the ninth inning, where they lost. It's just insane, man. I mean, this team can still make the playoffs, but I swear to God, if they were even just slightly below average in these metrics, they still would be fighting the Dodgers for the West, and they would have already locked up a wild card position at minimum.
Yeah,
And
they'd be
that's
like
what's so
3,
frustrating.
2 games back, looking at that series this weekend, thinking about the wild card as a fallback.
Yep.
And instead, here they are fighting with the Mets and the Cardinals. And the Cardinals, I had an idea would stick around, but I didn't think the Mets would be the team from the East to shoot up. I thought it would be the Marlins, but it turned out to be the Mets. They managed to win some games and go on a little. I looked back; they won like 8 straight, like a couple weeks ago or something like that, and it kind of got shot them back into it. So I didn't expect it would be
They
them.
were like 5 or 6 games back of the wild card not too long ago. And then they had that amazing winning streak. In fact, back in August, I went to St. Louis, was actually Branson, Missouri for a family reunion. And when we did go back into St. Louis on our way back, we stayed there for 2 nights. And we did a ballpark tour at Busch Stadium. And I walked around the whole ballpark area. And when we did our tour, of course, it was all Cardinals fans, all decked out in their Cardinals gear. I had a Giants hat on. And, these are people from Missouri. They're the nicest people in the world. Totally Midwest type attitude. No one cursed or whatever, but they ribbed me a little bit. Oh, the Giants are they've always been the stick in our side. You know what I mean? Because of what the Giants have done to the Cardinals the last 2 out of the last 3 years in the playoffs. And at the time, they're like, oh, you guys are going to easily win the West. You guys are cruising. And at the time, the Cardinals were obviously well behind the Cubs at the time, but also were about a good 8 games back of the wild card, 7 games back of the wild. They're pretty far back. But, they kind of held some hope out, and they were like, well, if things work out, we're going to be okay. I swear to God, I had no idea that fast forward 8 weeks, and the Giants and Cardinals would be fighting for the last wild card spot.
The Cardinals, they're like the Blue Jays.
Crazy.
They mash. They hit the ball all over the ballpark like all the time.
Yeah.
They'll put a crooked number up on you like so quickly, and 2 guys will hit two-run homers in the same inning. That's just been their MO this year. It's very un-Cardinals like, but that's the kind of team they've been, and that's what's been able to keep them in it.
And it's crazy to think that it's entirely possible the Giants could be playing St. Louis for the wild card game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Either in San Francisco or in St. Louis. And that blows my mind. It blows my flipping mind. I had no idea that was even possible, given their collapse this second half. But it is what it is. So, yeah, I think that's going to about do it for episode 112 of the TorchCast. You know what, Eric? I think this just may be because their season ends on Sunday. The regular season, I should say, ends on Sunday. It looks like unless something crazy happens and we want to get in there, this is going to be our last regular season podcast for 2016.
So should we say why they're going to win it all, or do we just outline every reason they're not going to?
No, we can't do the latter. Let's do the former. Yeah, that was an old tradition we usually put in. We haven't done it in a while. But this is an appropriate time. So why are they going to win it all, Eric?
Why are they going to win it all? I'm going to say because Hunter Pence, Buster Posey, and Brandon Belt will remember who they are and be able to carry them with their middle of the order and score runs and be able to handle all the pitching that they see along the way. So I think their offense is why they will win it all.
I'm going to say they're going to have 2 or 3 games of really good offense, minimum, and Matty Moore's got to come. He's got to come through. Looks like he's going to have 2 starts, 2 out of the 6, so he's got to pitch well. Obviously got to win at least one of the 2 starts, but hopefully both of them. I think those are the 2 keys right now. But that's hopefully going to get them into the playoffs, and who knows what can happen from there. They're going to line it up where Bum is going to start in the wild card game. Although, actually, I shouldn't say that. It's not guaranteed.
It's not.
It's not because Bum's going to, as of right now, going to pitch the first game of L.A., right? So
yeah, it's Friday, so he could get the Tuesday game if they need it to get in on the 3-way tie.
He could pitch on 1 day short, right? 1 day short rest, which I think they would do. Because... I didn't look at the regular schedule, but is that Monday after? Is that a day off for everyone?
If there's the wild card is Wednesday, October 5th. Regardless of how it plays out, if it's just 2 teams or the whole crazy playoff scenario, they're going to be able to have the NL wild card on October 5th.
Okay, so if the Giants they don't have some crazy tie, Bum will be able to start the wild card game. But
yeah, no question.
We'll see what happens there. Before I forget, I'm so sorry. I don't want to be a downer, but we got to talk just 1 minute about Jose Fernandez. My wife, yesterday I was drinking some coffee in the morning, and I hadn't been on the internet or social media or anything like that. And she said, "Hey, do you know this Jose Fernandez guy?" She likes baseball, but she doesn't follow it very closely. I was like, yeah, pitcher for the Marlins. She's like, yeah, he died. And I was like, wait, what? I mean, it's one of those things where you're kind of like, huh? Like, what do you mean he died? How does a young kid like that die? Oh, yeah, it was a boating accident. Immediately, I was like, I gotta go, I gotta go check this out, and immediately hopped on and obviously found out what happened. And I mean, every time you saw this guy on a mound and in interviews and just in the sidelines, in the dugout, playing with his teammates, just acting like a freaking kid. I mean, he looked like a little leaguer. The way he acted, not his body. He was a huge guy, but big guy. But God, did he play with some enthusiasm for this game? I mean, and considering what he's been through in his life, defecting from Cuba, tried 4 times, was successful when he was 15 years old, finished high school in Florida. Ended up getting drafted in the first round in 2011, made his major league debut in 2013, gets Rookie of the Year. Then has TJ surgery, but has come back with a vengeance this year. Just his last start, he threw 8 innings of 3-hit ball shutout. I mean, the kid has only had like 73 starts in his major league career, and his ERA plus was 150, which, if you don't know what that means, 100 means you're average, right? That's the middle, the average mark. When you're 150, you're at the very top echelon of your league in terms of stats. This kid had a lot to prove, and he was going far. I mean, he could have been easily the next, Juan Marichal type of guy. He had a very long career ahead of him, and besides that, of course, he was 24 years old, and it's just really, really sad. I mean, as of right now, they don't think there's anything in terms of drugs or alcohol involved. That remains to be confirmed, but it looks like what I read tonight, that apparently he was upset about something and needed to, quote, blow off some steam, and there was this text exchange between one of the boat drivers or a guy who owned the boat with another friend of theirs, a communal friend, and they needed to get him out, and one friend was like, okay, we'll take him out, but stay close to shore, man. Let me know if you need any help. He's like, yeah, bro, don't worry. Tonight's not my night, or something like that. It was a very eerie text where basically he said, tonight's not my night to go. And I don't know why someone would say something like that, but apparently they hit the jetty, in the dark. Obviously it was late in the morning, like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. at full speed, 55 miles an hour. And it was determined today. They said it wasn't drowning or anything else. It was just the force of the impact that killed everyone. And it's sad because you just wonder what was going on in that boat. Who was driving? Why were they going that fast? Did they know they were that close to shore and the jetty was coming up? I mean, all the what ifs, but regardless of that, there's nothing you can do about it. It's just a sad day for baseball and all the people that he touched.
Yeah, here's another what if. After that start last week, they bumped him from his Sunday start.
They did, yeah. They bumped him from his Sunday to Monday.
I have a hard time believing that he would, seeing what kind of guy he was and what kind of impact he had, and just what kind of a work ethic he also seemed to have. He didn't strike me as a guy that would be out on the boat at 3:15 in the morning the night before starting a day game. Yeah. So if he had been starting on Sunday instead of bump back to Monday, there's another what if to throw in there. It's just one of those crazy happenstance things, as things are wont to do in this great, the world, stuff happens, and he will be a big loss. Pedro Martinez said that he felt like Jose Fernandez was better than Pedro was back at that age.
Oh, they looked at the stats for those first 70-something starts, and they were better than Pedro and others comparable to him.
Yeah, his strikeout rate got better after the Tommy John surgery.
Yeah.
And he was just I lived in Tampa for a while, and there's a lot of Cubans in Tampa, and there's a lot of pride that comes with being Cuban, and I totally understand why Jose Fernandez's family ended up in Tampa, because there's Cuban population. So I know their pride, and so he was the pride of South Beach. He was the pride of Miami. All those Cubans down there that had come over and defected and made their home and made their little Havana. So every time he took the mound, they took the mound, and so it's such a gut wrenching blow to that type of a community. He's 24. There's so much. He was 24. So much life to be lived, and that's the saddest part about it. Yeah, it sucks for all of us because we're never going to get to see him, but it sucks for all the lives that he's unable to touch. Now that his life was cut short tragically. So it just really sucks. It sucks that, the Wind gets knocked out of Miami when that happens. I don't know if you saw tonight, there was a pregame tribute, and then when D. Gordon led off for the Marlins in the bottom of the first, he took the first pitch batting right-handed for Jose Fernandez, and then switched around.
With his helmet on.
Right, and then switched around to the left side, and then hit his first home run of the year.
His very first home run of the year. I mean, that's incredible.
Unbelievable.
Crosses home plate, and just everybody's hugging him, and he just breaks down. And then he
fell into Barry. He fell right into Bonds.
Right into Bonds. Bonds took his helmet off, and people carried him down the dugout, and then he just disappeared down the tunnel. He was just emotionally wrecked at that point. I mean, it's pretty powerful to see. Because that's not show. That's not faking it. That's real raw emotion. Because D. Gordon and him were really good friends, and oh man, it's just
Yeah, every story I heard about him, everything I read seemed like he was a very great guy. So it's a huge loss. We can't, sell the fact that it's horrible to lose a life that young, Apparently, like you said, he wasn't doing anything like overtly stupid. He wasn't drinking. It wasn't drugs, He was being 24 years old, and nobody can fault him for that.
No, I mean, as of right now, we don't think he did anything wrong or irresponsible. It's just, you wonder, because the first information coming out right now is that he was upset and he needed to, quote, blow off some steam, and he was spotted at a bar at 2 a.m. before he got on the boat. And you just, you wonder what was bugging him, what happened. But in the end, it doesn't matter. We all deal with our own emotional problems in certain ways. I've been at a bar at 2 a.m. before. I'm sure you have as well.
Well,
I mean, it's not like that's unusual,
I think with a guy like that, I honestly think the speed of the boat and that kind of danger, that adrenaline would get him going more than, say,
maybe.
drinking. I really do. I think
there
that
was
the
no
boat
evidence of alcohol anywhere. So
right. I think that was his drug. I think he's an adrenaline junkie, just like any other 24-year-old wired like him might be. And that might have been the thrill, His serotonin might have been released. It's like when you go for a long drive after you may get into a fight with a significant other. It's the same kind of thing, except his just was, happened to happen. That's what I think. I really do. And I totally get that, because he was 24 and I did a lot of things when I was 24, and I'm so happy to still be here.
So many stupid things in my early 20s, but
right.
All right,
So stupid.
Rest in peace, Jose Fernandez. Hopefully, that doesn't.
Yeah, he might win the Cy Young award this year, and I don't care. That's totally fine.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, he had a good enough year. The guy would have earned it. So I'm totally fine with that.
All right, well, that's going to do it for episode 112, probably the last regular season podcast of the year, unless we squeeze something out if something crazy happens this week. Otherwise, we will be talking playoffs next Monday, or doing a postmortem. I don't know. Well, we'll see what happens over the next 6 games. But you can follow us on Twitter at TortureCast collectively, or individually, myself at ChadK21, Eric at 2OutHits, that's with the number 2. At Willie Dills and at Fried Duck. You can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/TortureCast, or check out our website, torturecast.com, where, of course, we post articles and our episodes, as well as those appear on iTunes and Stitcher and all the other normal places. But until episode, God, I hope it's not Unlucky 113. I just thought about that.
Ominous. It's hanging over.
I know. I was just going to say, oh, shit. That's not good. So, for Eric Nathanson, I'm Chad King, signing off for 112. We'll see you next time on the Torchcast. Boom.
A big thank you to everybody for listening to the TortureCast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. Follow us on Twitter at TortureCast. You can also like us on Facebook or check out our blog at torturecast.com. I also want to say thank you to Ashcon and Bailey for letting us use their song Feeling Like a Giant for our intro. For Ben Lee and Chad King, my name is Willie Dills, saying we'll see you next time.